Welcome to Curiosity on the Move, where we prove it's never too late to learn something new. I'm Lee, and I'm on a mission to try things I've always wondered about and to take you along for the ride. The world is full of skills, sports, hobbies, and activities just waiting for curious minds like ours. And here's the bonus: learning new things isn't just fun, it's one of the best ways to keep our brains healthy and engaged as we age. So, whether you're looking for a new passion, a way to meet people, or just want to keep that mental sharpness, you're in the right place. Usually, I do these episodes based on sports and activities that I have never done before, that I'm coming to you as a complete beginner. But in honor of my birthday month, I wanted to do something a little bit different with this episode and talk about the one sport that has been an absolute constant in my life since my early years, and that is tennis. Now, as a kid, I certainly had summer tennis camps, went out and hit with my mother, had various tennis instruction, nothing real formal until I reached high school. And then I played on my high school team for a number of years. But then the regular, college, job, marriage, kids had me setting the racket down for a number of years. It was probably 20 years before I was able to get playing again. And since then, though, I have never looked back. I have been on so many tennis teams, I couldn't even begin to tell you. Charleston is a huge tennis community. Every neighborhood has courts. We have multiple facilities all over the place. And of course, our crowning glory is the Credit One Charleston Open, a WTA tournament that comes here usually the first week of April every year. And at this point, had just concluded. So I wanted to have a conversation about tennis, not just about how to play it, but about what it is, where it came from, and what it does to the people who fall in love with it. So I was able to sit down with my pro over at Creekside, as well as some of the newer members on one of my tennis teams about their thoughts on the game of tennis. But as a brief history lesson, tennis is something that traces back to the 12th century in northern France. They didn't have rackets, they just had bare hands and they struck the ball with their palms, and the game was called jeu de paume, which is literally the game of the palm. So picture monks in a monastery courtyard batting a ball back and forth over a rope strung across the middle. And that's essentially how tennis started. So as the game continued, players began using gloves to protect their hands from calluses. And over time, the gloves evolved into wooden paddles and eventually into something resembling a racket. So it took a few centuries, but the shape of the game we recognize was beginning to emerge. The word tennis itself comes from the French word tenir, which means to take it or receive, or at least this is the most widely accepted theory of where the word comes from. By the 16th century, the game was enormously popular with European royalty, particularly in France and England, and King Henry VIII of England was one of its most passionate enthusiasts. He had courts built for himself, including one at Hampton Court Palace that still stands today. This version was played indoors, often with balls bouncing off walls and other gallery structures, and is what we now call real tennis or court tennis. It's still played in a handful of places around the world, and it barely resembles what I certainly do out on a court. So it's kind of a fun Jeopardy question. In 1850, Charles Goodyear, yes, Goodyear tires, invented a process for rubber called vulcanization, which made tennis balls significantly bouncier. So suddenly the game could be played outdoors on grass. The inventor of modern tennis has been disputed, but the officially recognized centennial of the game, celebrated in 1973, commemorated its introduction by Major Walter Clopton Wingfield in 1873. He had published the first book of rules that year and took out a patent on his game in 1874. In 1877, the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club hosted the first championships at Wimbledon, and that tournament standardized so much of what we take for granted today, such as the court dimensions, the net height, the scoring, the very weird reason we say 15, 30, and 40 system that confuses a lot of people. Originally, it was 45. It was based on clock positions, but the 45, for whatever reason, was simplified to 40 over time. The U.S. Open followed in 1881, the French Open in 1891, and the Australian Open in 1905. And that created us those 4 Grand Slam pillars within about 30 years of Wimbledon's founding. For most of that history, tennis was a sport for the privileged. When lawn tennis emerged in Britain, the aristocracy preferred to entertain guests at home in their own backyards. So the sport quickly became the chosen game of the privileged classes, with enormous importance placed on proper etiquette and controlled behavior. So white clothing, hushed crowds, that whole aesthetic. The early years of professional tennis were turbulent. In 1968, the Open era began, meaning amateurs and professionals could finally compete together in the Grand Slams for the first time. Before that, if you took prize money, you were barred from the sport's biggest stages. And I don't think anybody could imagine that now. So today, tennis, of course, can be played by people at every level of society and across all ages. It rewards patience and strategy over raw power in ways that almost no other sport does. To learn more, I asked Jeff Short of Creekside and some of the ladies on my team about the psychology of the sport, about what brought them to it, what surprised them, and what it's given to them. But before I start the interview, I just wanted you to understand what we're actually talking about when we talk about tennis. And we're talking about something that started in a monastery courtyard in medieval France, traveled through the royal courts of Europe, reinvented itself on grass in an English garden, and somehow ended up here on public courts, in community clubs, and in the hands of people like you and me. How did you first get introduced to tennis? Did you play in high school or college?
So when I was like 5 or 6, my mom was on a team. She was on a 3.5 team, but they called it a B team, A, B, C, D.
Sure.
And I would go, not watch her matches, but like play around. And then afterwards, she would let me hit with her. And so I started hitting with my mom, just like basic for like 10 to 15 minutes. And I loved it. And I wanted to do it more and more and more. So that's how I got started. And then I was always hooked. But I also played other sports as well, but tennis was the one that I enjoyed the most.
So you started pretty young.
I did. However, I didn't start like tournaments until I was maybe 12. So I was just like kind of fun with friends and stuff until about 12 years old. Then I got serious with everything.
Were you on a junior circuit?
I was, yes, I was ranked in Florida. I was at one point when I got to my highest rating was probably 30 in the state. And for Florida, that's really good because that's like the most competitive state aside from maybe New York and California. So that was, yes, that's what I did.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So then after you went through that junior circuit and continued on, what brought you to teaching tennis?
So I played tennis in college. I played at the University of North Florida, and although we did beat Florida State, just put that in there. And after that, I had some friends that were already teaching tennis, and they asked if I could help with their program, so I started doing that, and it just, one thing led to another, and I stayed with it. Yeah.
So then when did you come from Florida to South Carolina?
I came 3 years and 3 months, about.
Okay.
Yes. So not too long ago. Was teaching tennis in Florida before that, the whole like over 20 years. So,
Sure.
so yeah.
So, having taught all those 20 plus years in Florida and teaching here now for the last 3.5, you've obviously been teaching players at every level and stage of life. You have all the junior program here, and then you have the ladies my age and above. We're certainly out here trying to play on a Saturday morning. But is there a moment in someone's development? Obviously, the children, you're really focusing on their technical. But for the older folks, not just technical, but psychological, that you can always see in a person.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell. I kind of do it this way. Players, they stop trying to mess up. If they're so worried about hitting the ball the right way and try to do what your coach tells you to do, and you can tell. They get a little bit nervous. They get kind of tight. But when you can tell, right when they start believing in themselves and start doing what we tell them to do, it's very easy to see a progress for that. The body language, they change. You can tell it's more confident. Decision making, that definitely progresses. And it's like, instead of being afraid to hit, they want to hit. It's more of a positive and confident type of feeling. So that's what I see when that happens.
Perfect. Yeah. Tennis has this reputation as a mental sport. So what does that actually mean, though, from where you sit? What does that mental game look like for adult recreational players like myself versus what people imagine it to be?
Okay. Managing expectations, that to me is a big part of how you would deal with the mental game as a recreational player. Staying focused, not letting one bad shot turn into 3 bad games. So
True.
I see a lot of that happening, especially in ladies tennis.
Yes. That's a very good point.
Yeah, they harp on one point, they focus, and they get negative, and then it leads into 3-4 games after that. So you just have to turn that around, and learning to just to compete without beating yourself up.
Yeah.
So you've got to take the good and the bad. Sometimes you're going to be bad. It's just the way it is. But you have to learn how to adapt and think about the positive part of it. So.
Yeah, definitely, though, for strategy purposes, though, it's kind of fun to make the other side upset.
Well, yes, it is.
Because it's true that we do, at my level, and certainly as a recreational player, we do fall apart. We start to say, that's it, I can't play tennis, I suck, it's over. And we'll get into our heads because of a couple bad points. But
Yes.
as long as the other side is the one doing that, and we can exploit that, then it actually kind of works.
That is true. Especially, let's say that I'm playing you and you hate lobs. I'm going to lob you to
God,
death.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, I do hate lobs. That is one thing. Oish, those ladies.
Yeah. But that is very mental, because if you get under their skin, they're going to
exactly
freak out.
Exactly. Yeah, that is very true. Keeping calm in those situations, I tend to tell myself and even my doubles partner, 1 point at a time, we've got this. And my other kind of big saying is, no one's paying me $1 million. This
right.
is fun recreational tennis, and while we're all very competitive and we want to be, and of course we want to win, at the end of the day, we are not professionals.
No.
At all. But it is nice when you watch the professionals screw up.
Yes.
And then that's very relatable as well.
Absolutely. I've seen Sabalenka double fault the whole game, every single point in the game away. So if it happens to her, it can happen to anyone.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And someone like me, so I played tennis in high school, way back, late 80s, early 90s. And I got to college and realized that there were more fun things to do in college than play tennis. So I got a little sidetracked. Then, of course, started a family. So it was probably 20 years before I picked up a racket again. So for someone, though, who's returning like me after a long break, what do you notice about those players? And is there something distinct about relearning something that you once knew?
Yeah, so I'd say there's a mix of like frustration at first, and maybe some joy as well. The body remembers more than they expect. The timing, you can kind of get that back if right away. The feel, the instincts, you can get those back. But the execution isn't quite there yet. So it's kind of like your body knows what to do, but it just takes a little while to get back into it. So kind of like an oil change in a car. Just got to change the oil, get back on the road, and do it. Um, I think relearning can be humbling because you think you're better than you are. Most people
I
do.
would agree. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
But then once you get out there, the body's a little bit older and it's changed. But players coming back, they often progress faster because they're reconnecting with an old version of themselves. So they know what their body can do. They just have to remember and adapt. That's what I see.
So, what have you noticed about a player's relationship with the sport? Does that tend to change as they get older? Or do you find that players discover something in tennis later that they couldn't access when they were younger?
Yeah, so good question. So, a younger player, it's tennis when I was younger. Tennis was all about achievement. I wanted to win matches, I wanted to beat my friends, I wanted to get my ranking higher so I could be involved more in the higher tournaments because you have to be ranked at a certain time. If you wanted to play a national tournament, you have to be ranked a certain level. Um, and I just like proving to your friends that you're getting better and that you're better than they are.
The important stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. But when you get older, tennis becomes more about connection, friendships, social aspect. Um, Obviously, yes, it still has, you want to get your steps in, you want to find some fitness with it. But I feel like the pressure is gone and the appreciation for tennis is there and it's way deeper than if you were a junior. So that's what I see.
I would say appreciation for tennis is definitely something as I have gotten older, because I certainly remember as a child my mother watching tennis and thinking, why in the world is this on? Like, it was so boring. I loved playing it. I had no problem going out and played on my team, loved it. But watching it on TV, forget it. Now
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like glued to the tennis channel 24/7.
Yes.
It definitely, but it's the nuance as well. And watching some of these ladies, we kind of giggle over, beware the knee brace,
Oh,
right? So
yeah.
some of these older ladies who you get out on that court and you think, oh, they can't move. They're clearly all bandaged up, but they know how to place it. They don't have to move anymore, and they will just whoop your rear
They will.
end out on
Yes, they will.
a court. So, but that social aspect too, I think, is definitely key. I'm on a number of teams. All my ladies, I love so much. I captain them. They've been fabulous. But we have these social events here at Creekside too, and I'm waiting because you were making some killer honey deuces at the last U.S. Open event
Yeah.
that we had, and I don't think we've done that now
No, we need to get
in
it.
2 or 3 years. So
That's
we've
right.
we've got to get that going again for sure. But those events, those kind of social round robins that we have, it gets the folks in the neighborhood out. Everybody gets out here and they have a good time, and I can
Yeah.
certainly appreciate that level of it.
That's right.
So that is something for me, certainly, that keeps me coming back. What do you see that keeps people coming back? That what's underneath it all, not just the competition or the fitness, but
I feel like I see it's a sense of belonging to even if it's a private public club, even if it's just a court that's in the middle of nowhere. If people come back to the same spot, it's a feeling of it. It's a safe place that you can go, meet people, have your friends come, and you can get away for an hour or two, and you're not thinking about work, stress, or anything else. You're just there to have fun and get some exercise. You're in the moment, moving, reacting, solving problems, and having fun. That's what I see. So, yeah.
I can't thank Jeff enough for visiting with me that afternoon. We had such a fun conversation, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it. I also had a chance to play some tennis with some of the ladies from my 3-0 evening team. and I asked them a few questions about how they felt about the game of tennis.
So obviously everybody here kind of picked it up earlier on and then returned to it. So what kind of changed both either kind of mentally or emotionally for you coming back to it as an adult?
Having some children really changes you, physically. That wasn't part of it, but physically.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
I think for me it was more about like getting out and like being with y'all and social and getting out of the house than it was. I mean, I like to win, don't get me wrong, but it's about being out here. That's what I get a lot out of that.
Yeah. I think, changing things up and having an identity of my own instead of just being a mom.
Yeah.
It has been really nice to go do this thing that's just for me, to have fun.
mm-hmm.
So I don't really know. I guess I didn't have that perspective as a third grader, So that would be a big change.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
A little bit more relaxed though, not quite as competitive for our lovely ladies 3-0.
I really,
Tennis.
it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad we joined the team that we joined, and even being like the rating, not that we should be any better, but it's just been a little bit more relaxed. And so we can laugh at ourselves and each other. And
I guess so. Obviously, Laura and I played on teams together for a number of years, and we've been at it together for a number of years. So kind of like what keeps you coming back year after year? And Laura and I can also, we're like multiple tennis teams too. We torture ourselves with this. So I don't know if any of you have that experience, because you've only been playing so far this year, as well as this is your first season with us this year. So what will keep you coming back next season, and you coming back in the fall as well after having 2 seasons under your belt?
As much as I say it's for fun, there is a competitive side to me that's like, I want to win another match. I want to better not ranking, but like what is it, like
and move up.
I want it. Like this past season, what were we?
it was not good.
1-3.
Not good.
So I'm like, I want to get some more wins under my belt. And just see myself get better, really.
Spring was a tough season. I know. We did so awesome in the fall, and then spring.
Yeah, we were teased a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
You just played so well. Your team looked so good, and then I don't know. We didn't play as frequently either.
Yeah, it was a short season, so it was like everything
funky.
felt so condensed.
Yeah.
And it was either raining or freezing.
Yeah, this was a weird season. So that was tough for you, Julie, because obviously just starting with us, not having ever played on a USTA League team, coming into it with such a weird, because it was the weather delays at the beginning and the shortness of this season with only 7 matches. That had to be tough. So I hope, though, even that smidgen of play will keep you coming back.
Don't worry, I will come back, because I do want to. I want to have like a team sport, even though like I was playing singles and it was individual. I still like being out here with everyone and being able to get better at my game. And even though I lost every single match, but don't worry, I'll come back.
It's been so fun to have something. I mean, it's been a really long time since I've had something that is competitive, and it's a sport and you're trying to win, but you're also, you're enjoying it, but it's exercise too.
Right.
So it's really enjoyable. And there are the times when Fallon and I will lose a match and we'll go home and debrief every single point, and I think that keeps you coming back, because you're like, okay, we've got to not do this again. We're not going to sleep. We need to.
That's fun that y'all are
we
like,
need to fix
think
it.
about it and like how to improve, and that's cool.
We'll call each other on the ride home. We're like, what happened?
So that point that I hit out, I could have done this instead.
Yeah, it's good though.
But despite that, just like the physical game, because it's obviously very physical.
Yeah.
But y'all are so young that's part of it at this stage of the game too. But eventually, you're to my age and you stop moving a little bit, and it becomes a little more mental. So what are your thoughts on kind of how mental tennis can be?
So mental. So mental.
Yeah, I think we can make ourselves lose. We can defeat ourselves when our mental game is not there. Like, there have been multiple matches where Allie and I mentally crumble. And so I think, but then there have been matches where we fought back And so I think it is
Totally.
We always say we think it takes us like a set to get in.
full set.
Like, okay, now we're mentally here.
Yeah.
But it really can, you can lose a match like that.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it takes that long just to understand what the other side is doing, trying to figure them out, where you need to be hitting your shots to play against
Their
them.
strength.
It is interesting how people who've been playing for a really long time, they, like you were saying, like they are so good at placing the ball just so,
Yeah.
to where I'm running around, you know, out of breath, and they've barely moved, and like have just.
You'll
they
be
just know
amazed
exactly
as we move up or whatever. They don't hit the ball that much harder. I mean, they some do, but it's really more about placement.
Just
Strategy, like making the right move at the time.
Yeah.
It's not about wailing on the ball,
Right.
Which is it's like humbling.
But it really is such a mental sport.
Yeah.
I always joke with my husband because he's the golfer, and I'll tell Fallon too, I'm like, I feel like I have the yips. Like, you could just hit it in the net over and over and over, and you have to like get out of that mental headspace.
Yeah.
So we're practicing all of it here, you know.
Yeah.
Tennis has been such a constant in my life. I grew up playing it. Unfortunately, had to put the racket down for a number of years, but since then, I have played on more teams and for more years than I can count. My mother is 85 and she continues to play tennis on a weekly basis. My father, before he passed, was an avid tennis player as well as a referee and an umpire. He volunteered at loads of events across the state, including Coco, which beforehand was also known as the Family Circle Cup. He was the president of the South Carolina Tennis Association for a period of time as well. So tennis has given a lot to me. And while, again, this was something I've been doing for most of my life and not something I'm coming to you with a beginner mind on, it is something I really wanted to share with all of you. Tennis is so important to me, and I really wanted to get the message out there about what a wonderful sport this is. I hope you will enjoy this fabulous spring weather and take the chance to get out on the court and play a match for yourselves. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, huge shout out to Jeff Short over at Creekside and the ladies on my team, Laura, Allie, Fallon, and Julie, for speaking with me after a match we played. I hope you'll tune in again in 2 weeks when I will be talking with a unique cooking school called Chef's Collective right here in Charleston.